Welcome to Mobility Monday. I am doing Mobility Monday from home today, just because I'm working from home today. I've got a friend here. She's joining me for Mobility Monday here, keeping me company. We're just gonna start out kind of like we always do. We're gonna start out with some breathing. So either laying down or sitting up, kind of find where you are comfortable. You can put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and just start with some nice calm breaths. As you breathe in through your nose, you're going to feel your chest rise first, and then your belly. And as you breathe out, you're going to feel your belly go in, your diaphragm go up as it pushes that air out. Just spending some time right here, getting some really nice calming breaths, setting the intention for the rest of your day, the rest of your week. I hope that you had an opportunity over this past weekend to get outside and enjoy the nice weather that we had. We got some like summer weather in October, which was super nice. Apparently the calming music puts Riley right to sleep here. A little helper, just taking a little nap already. Alright, and what we're going to start with is we're going to start with a little bit of core activation today. So find a spot where you can comfortably lay down on the floor, either on a yoga mat or just on the carpet. These are going to seem maybe like they're really, adjust here a little bit, like they're maybe like really simple moves, but I really want you to focus while you're doing these moves on engaging the correct muscles, and that way you're just going to get so much out of this, no matter what level you're at. So we're just going to start by pressing that low back down into the floor and really activating our transverse abdominals. And then we're just going to start by alternating, picking up a foot off the floor. Our goal here is to keep that transverse activated that whole time, and then to keep our hips, our pelvis area nice and level. No moving around, no moving from side to side. Everything is nice and steady. Our belly button is pulled in and down towards our spine. Our lower back is pressed into the ground. We're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. As you breathe out, each time you have the opportunity to really engage that transverse abdominals. So as simple as this may be, it is a really good way to wake up that core gently, especially if you've been sitting all morning, if you haven't taken the opportunity to get up from your chair very many times yet. We're just gonna spend some time here waking up that midsection, and you can even go slower. I maybe started going a little bit faster just because I was talking, but you can even slow it down a little bit. Really just focusing on that mind to core activation. From there, we're gonna take a nice big deep breath. We're gonna stretch out from our fingers to our toes, feeling a nice full body stretch. Oh, my little partner is waking up. Stretching out from our fingers to our toes. We're going to slowly roll it up to a seated position. Try to sit up nice and tall and straight. We're just going to gently reach towards our toes. Maybe we only make it to our shins or our ankles. Maybe we can go past our toes, wherever it is. Go to your level of flexibility. Take a couple deep breaths while you're right there. Bring it back up to a seated position. Take a deep breath, bring it back down. Really try to hinge at the hips. Try to keep it out of your lower back. We want this stretch to be for the back side of our legs, not a stretch for our lower back. So really focusing on hinging at the hips. And maybe that means that you don't reach quite as far. That's fine, because you're still getting a really good stretch. Just kind of alternating back and forth, just very gently stretching the back sides of our legs. They spend a lot of time like this when we're sitting in our chairs. So we're just stretching them out a little bit, gently bringing some mobility back in there. And then we're going to bring some mobility back into our hips and our hip flexors. So you might not have your feet as close as what I have. Your feet might be out here a little bit further. Kind of play with how that works for you. You can put your hands behind you. And you're just going to alternate side to side, gently waking up those hips and those hip flexors, bringing some active mobility back in there. You might feel, you get a little extra stretch here right on the front, especially if you've been sitting all morning. So this will bring a little stretching back into there, a little active mobility into those hip flexors. And you need that so that you can, keep your hip flexors looser so that you can properly engage your core, so you can properly engage your glutes when you do exercises on the backside. Because if you're tilted forward at all, then you're not going to get that full glute activation on the backside. So let's just do a few more here. Breathing, go at your pace, whatever you need for today. Might be faster or slower than what I just did. You're gonna we're just gonna bring it back around, back down to the floor. This time I'm going to bring my legs up to a tabletop position, both feet together. My lower back pressed into the floor, activating that transverse, slowly tapping those feet down to the floor. You're going to relax your head down to the floor. I have my head up just so I can kind of look and see what I'm doing here. Nice and slow, nice and controlled, belly button to spine. If you're finding that your lower back is starting to maybe pop up off the floor, give yourself a little reset. Tuck that tailbone under, activate the transverse again, and then just keep right on going. It's fine to take a little break if you need it, or a little reset if you need it, so that you can keep doing the exercise properly. From here, we're going to relax. We're going to bring one foot over the opposite knee, We're gonna reach through and we're gonna gently pull, feeling a nice stretch in the glute on the knee that's bent. Be very gentle with it. And then as you take a few deep breaths, you can maybe pull a little bit harder. Feeling more of a stretch into that glute. We'll hold this one for about 10 more seconds. And we're going to switch sides. Bring the other foot across the opposite knee. Again, feeling a nice stretch through our glute and the side of our hip. We're just kind of mixing in some core activation with some mobility today, kind of going back and forth between the two, trying to get a nice balance here. We'll hold this one for about, 15 more seconds. Take note, maybe you find that as you're doing this, like I'm doing my left side right now. My left tends to be a little bit tighter than my right. Maybe I need to spend a little bit more time bringing some stretching and mobility into my left side. Also maybe doing some strengthening on my left side, because that kind of goes with sometimes where we're missing some of that mobility is the strength side of it. All right. We're going to go into a very slow bicycle. So we're going to bring our legs up to tabletop. We're going to bring our hands behind our head and we're going to alternate. This will be the easiest version. It's just a little kick out of the foot. So we're getting the rectus abdominis on the top and we're getting the obliques on our sides as we crunch over to the side. If you need a little bit more of an advanced version, you're just going to start sticking that leg out further and lower to the ground. So we're going to still go nice and slow, keeping that power coming from the core, even if it's starting to burn a little bit, it might be. And then if you even need more of a challenge, when you bring your hands up behind your head, you're going to try to keep those shoulder blades off the floor. So even if you only do that for like 10 seconds, that's just a little added challenge. All are very good versions of doing a bicycle crunch. All are activating those core muscles on the sides of the waistline and on the top. Let's do a few more. Even just alternating between the two is fine. Whew, I'm feeling it. Apparently I needed to do a little core wake up today. I'm gonna go from here just into a nice full body stretch, stretching out my arms and my legs long, feeling that natural arch in my spine as I reach towards the wall. Taking some nice big deep breaths. I'm bringing my legs back up to tabletop. I'm going to extend one leg out long, and I'm going to drop that leg down to the floor. I'm going to switch, and I'm going to do the other side. So just focusing on activating the core, keeping the movement in my leg coming from my core, not coming from my hip flexors. So this is just a little bit more of an advanced version. If you need something more advanced, you can go both feet together as long as you can keep everything nice and stable, keeping that low back down, not letting your pelvis rock. So this is almost like your, prep version right here. And then you can have your head up, keeping those shoulder blades up a little bit if you need a little bit of a challenge, or Rest your head down on the ground if that's too much for you. All are really good variations of this exercise. And maybe you think, oh, I'm just going to do a couple with the double leg, just to really add a little challenge. That's totally fine. We're going to roll it over onto our tummy. We'll go into a nice cobra. Get a little stretch on the front side. Remembering to breathe from here. Bringing your knees in, tucking your toes under. We're going to go into downward dog, pressing those sit bones up towards the ceiling. Heels down to the floor. The heels might not actually touch the floor, but they're pressing down towards the floor. And then alternating, picking up a heel, feeling a nice stretch through the calf, all through the back side of the leg. And then I'm going to go into pigeon, bringing one knee forward. Again, stretching out that glute from a little bit of a different angle here. And then you can come down to your knees, or you can go flat out on the ground. Just depends on where you need to go in pigeon to get the most out of the stretch. All are good variations of the stretch. We're going to shift back, downward dog, right into pigeon on the other side, pulling that knee through. Maybe noticing anything feels different on this side, if you have any restrictions. Again, up on your hands, down on your elbows, kind of wherever you need to go to feel that stretch. Hang out here for a few more seconds. All right, I'm going to bring it back up, pull that knee through. I'm just going to come down to the ground, onto my belly. We're going to work on waking up those glutes. So go ahead, put your head down on the ground. You can relax. Maybe put your hand to your low back if you need to. We're going to focus on waking up the glutes. So your goal here is to press your toes down into the ground. Squeeze your glute to lift your knee off the ground one at a time without having your lower back join the party. So your transverse has to be activated, your core has to be activated. Pick up your knee, and then from there, see if you can pick up your toe or float your leg lightly up and have all that activation come from your glute. And then switch sides. Go to the other side. Put that hand on your back. Okay, lower back, stay out of it. Activate the glute, pick up the knee, point the toe. Just kind of go back and forth. We're just kind of trying to retrain our glute muscle to activate when it's supposed to. And maybe you don't have any issues with it, but it's still good to make sure we're having that mind to muscle connection between our brain and our glute, especially because we sit so much during the day that sometimes our booty gets a little lazy and maybe doesn't do as much work for us as what it should, especially if we're walking or running or trying to do a workout with maybe heavier weights, squats, lunges, something like that. So if we just do a little prep to make sure that we can still activate that muscle when we go do other exercises, we're going to be getting the most out of it. All right. So you've found your glute. Maybe you're saying to yourself right now, oh, I need to come back and practice this one. That's fine. You can come back later. Practice that one on your own time. We're going to go into a quadruped position. So on all fours, hands and knees. We're gonna keep our core active and we're gonna press our heel up towards the ceiling, little pulses. My knee is bent pretty close to my butt, as close as I can get it, because I'm trying to keep the hamstring out of it and really focus on having that little lift or that little pulse towards the ceiling come from my glute. So trying to do all the things here that ensure that the glute is the one doing a lot of the work. The core has to work too, because that's what's helping keep us nice and stable and help keep the back nice and flat. But we'll switch sides, pulsing that heel up towards the ceiling. Try to keep the pelvis nice and level. Don't let it rotate from side to side, so we don't like drop this way or drop that way or sink. Well, that was my arms, but sink down. On switch, we're gonna go back to that first side that we started from. Set yourself up. Almost think about tucking your ribs in a little bit as you tuck that tailbone so that your transverse is activated. It's not a super high lift of my leg. And you might find too, like if you have tight hip flexors, your leg is gonna stay down here more, because a tight hip flexor is just not letting your leg come up here. But like, see how if I put my leg up really high, it causes my back to arch? We don't want that. We want my back to keep this nice and stable. So we're only gonna go as high as kind of what the hip flexor and the core will let it go. Maybe as I work on this, it'll get better. We'll switch sides, setting up on this side, and you may find one side has a little bit more extension than the other, and that's okay. Just know, gives you an idea of where you need to work on some of those restrictions in the future. All right, bringing it back down. We're gonna stay in the quadruped position. You can go back to doing one more round of heel pulses, or you can move on to a little bit more advanced move, but you have to be able to keep your core engaged and the focus on your glute. So we're gonna do long leg lift, but if you find that you're feeling this more in your hamstring, or that you're not holding your upper body nice and stable, then you wanna stick with that pulse towards the ceiling, because then you're just not quite ready for this one. And that's okay. Kind of work with where you are right now. I just want to make sure I give you, some progressions so that you can, challenge yourself if you need to. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're gonna switch sides. Same thing. Pick the level where you're at. Variations of a clamshell, just to kind of wake up the side butt muscles. So we're going to start with your normal clamshell, really focusing on those side butt muscles as doing the movement. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And now we're going to do that second one right after the first one. We'll lifting that knee slightly off the other knee. It's a reverse clamshell, bringing that heel up towards the ceiling. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're going to switch sides. Starting with that classic clamshell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Picking that knee up and bringing that heel up. Reverse clamshell. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Very nice. We're going to roll over onto our back, placing our heels pretty close to our sit bones, tucking our tailbone under. We're going to go up into a bridge, really focusing on pressing our feet down into the floor and activating our glutes as we rise up. Go for 10 more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plant one foot into the ground. Pick up the opposite foot. Bring it up. Make sure you're keeping your pelvis nice and stable. So single leg. We're going to do 10 on each side. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The trick here is not how high you can get your butt off the ground, but if you can keep your pelvis nice and stable so that your glute is doing all the work so they're not dipping from side to side, you're really activating those muscles. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Very nice. Go ahead, bring yourself into a seated position. We're going to go into a wide leg. We're going to reach towards one leg and then reach that opposite arm up and over. On this one, you're going to feel a nice stretch all through your leg. And then by reaching that arm up and over, you might feel a little stretch in your lower back, which just kind of feels good. And we're going to switch to the other side, reach toward that other leg, bringing that arm up and over, feeling that nice stretch through the inner leg, in the lower back. Maybe you find, the side in the lower back doesn't stretch as much or whatever. and you need to spend a little more time on the other side. Kind of just, again, finding those areas that you need to give a little more attention to. And then we're gonna reach towards the middle. I can't reach very far towards the middle, but reaching towards the middle, trying to keep that bend coming from your hips, not coming from your lower back. Breathing nice and deep. And thank you for joining me today. I will post this online shortly. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.